Pixar's universe is extremely deep, with mysterious characters like Emma Jean and Andy's dad just scraping the surface. And today I'll be covering two aspects of it, the world-conquering business by and large, and the evil genius from The Incredibles, Syndrome. Ready for a theory? Hey everyone! You know, something I've always wondered was how exactly B&L came to be in the first place. But if you don't know, B&L, or By and Large, is the large corporation that took over the world from about the time of Toy Story 3 in 2010 up to the events of WALL-E in 2800. And of course, this is assuming you have a general idea of the Pixar Theory, and if you have no clue what that is, I recommend checking out John Negroni's website, which I'll link in the description. Anyway, By and Large supposedly started out as a frozen yogurt business, as a small company called By Yogurt. It then joined forces with a company that made men's suits, called Large Industries, and it grew and grew. The dates of the yogurt and suit companies are unknown, but we do know that it was before the year of 2057, because that was when B&L officially became a worldwide leader in, a lot of aspects. B&L thrived as a booming business for many years, and as we can see, they really did make and control everything from Buzz Lightyear's batteries to the racetrack in Cars 3. So according to the Pixar Theory, we know that By and Large was around at least from 2010, or Toy Story 3, to about 2800, or at least up until WALL-E. The company eventually polluted the world so much that life could not exist anymore. B&L sent the remaining humans off to outer space on a ship called the Axiom, and cars start to take over, until even cars cannot live, and that's when WALL-E comes in and is able to essentially save the planet, and bugs start to inhabit the world again in A Bug's Life. So, as I said earlier, I've always wondered how By and Large came to be in the first place, besides the yogurt and the men's suits. I mean, By and Large was in charge of literally everything, so there had to be someone who had that plan all along. And as we know, Pixar never does anything by accident, and there are hidden secrets all over its films, so I have a feeling that the founder of B&L is hidden in one of their movies. So first we have to figure out which movie, which actually isn't that hard because of time constraints. We can already rule out Monsters, Inc., Monsters University, A Bug's Life, WALL-E, Cars 2, Cars, Up, and Toy Story 3, since we know that all of them take place after By and Large had already been founded. And we can also rule out Brave, because it takes place in the 1500s, way too early for any sort of plans to be formed. So we have 5 movies left: The Incredibles, Toy Story 2, Finding Nemo, and Ratatouille. I think that Ratatouille, taking place in 2007, is a little too close to when B&L was already fully in business. Also, all of the characters in Finding Nemo are fish, besides Darla and the dentist, and no. Which leaves us all of the Toy Story characters and the Incredibles characters. But after watching Ben Carlin's new video about Al's Toy Barn via Mike Mozart, it's been revealed that Al, from Toy Story 2, actually sold his land to By and Large that was already building and mass-producing. And this answers our question, because the first 2 Toy Story movies take place in such a small time frame, only 3 years, meaning that By and Large had to be founded before Toy Story. This revealing that the founder of B&L has to be from The Incredibles. Which leads us to the question, is the founder of By and Large a super? I don't think so, as supers have different kinds of powers, so who else? Someone who dreamed of taking over the world, someone who was a manufacturing genius. Oh, sound familiar? Yes, Syndrome, the main antagonist of The Incredibles, fits both of these categories. A little background on him, if you don't already know. Syndrome's real name is Buddy Pine, and as a 10-year-old boy, Buddy was Mr. Incredible's #1 fan. He wished to be Mr. Incredible's sidekick, and to be called Incrediboy, but sadly for him, Mr. Incredible never wanted a sidekick, and eventually rejected Buddy after he repeatedly bothered him. Then one night, Buddy went as far as interrupting Mr. Incredible in a battle, and accidentally caused a train crash, resulting in Mr. Incredible turning Buddy into the police. And after that moment, Buddy's feelings toward Mr. Incredible were harsh, and he turned on his former idol. Now a young man, Buddy worked on developing weapons that he sold to various groups, thus becoming wealthy. He He also took up the name Syndrome and set up a plan called Operation Kronos, which takes place in The Incredibles, in which he attempts to wipe out every super in the world. The plan eventually fails, and he dies from a plane explosion caused by Mr. Incredible. Okay, so that wasn't brief in any way, but anyway, back to By and Large. The company took over the world by 2057, and what is Syndrome's goal? Yes, to wipe out all supers, but also to be in control. I mean, he's clearly power-hungry throughout all of the movie.
See? Now you respect me, because I'm a threat. That's the way it works. Turns out there are a lot of people, whole countries, who want respect, and they will pay through the nose to get it. How do you think I got rich? I invented weapons.
Taking over the world by using technology, machines, and weaponry sounds exactly like Syndrome. And to quote the Pixar Wiki, Syndrome is supposedly not a super, but he demonstrates exceptional ingenuity, technical knowledge, and planning skill far beyond the science of his time. I mean, if he wouldn't found a world-conquering company, who would? And I know that Syndrome died at the end of The Incredibles, but I think that his plans for the humongous business were already sculpted out during the time that he was inventing and selling. But, of course, then why did By and Large start out as a yogurt company? Well, this was a conundrum for a while, until I realized Syndrome obviously didn't carry out the plans for BNL himself, as he died, but they could have been carried out by someone else, or even another group of people. After the yogurt and soup companies combined, Syndrome's plans were discovered and put into action by various people who just used By Yogurt and Large Industries as a starting base, meaning that Syndrome didn't come up with many of the details, like the name By and Large himself. He simply made plans for a huge multi-industry company that would take over the world. And going back to the Al's Toy Barn video for a second, if you go off of this, it means that whole characters and events in the Pixar universe wouldn't have happened if it weren't for By and Large. Al would never have sold his farming land to B&L, meaning that Carl would never have purchased the house that rests on the same area of land. This also implies that he would never have met Ellie, since she and her family were farmers on that land, meaning that the whole story of Up wouldn't have happened. Plus, if Carl had never met Ellie, he might have stayed and got married to Emma Jean, meaning that Andy's parents and Andy would never have been born. Therefore, the 3 Toy Story movies would never have happened. Wow, that would be 4 movies erased from Pixar history, but they're not, and it's all thanks to Syndrome for being the mastermind behind By and Large. Or if you think about it, none of this would have happened without Mr. Incredible, because his shunning of Syndrome prompted the evil genius to create the idea for the biggest company in history. So thank you, Mr. Incredible, and also, if you want to check out the Super Carlin Brothers Al's Toy Barn video, you can find the link in the description, as it's a really good one, and it might make this video easier to follow as well. So Syndrome, an evil mastermind and technological genius, is the founder of the corporation that took over the world, By and Large. And on that note, see you later.